Our first topic tonight is U.S. government. Apple take encryption case to court of public opinion. Here we go.
Apple not backing down on its stance to protect consumers' data. The iPhone maker urging the creation of a government panel on encryption issues to help resolve a standoff over data privacy and national security. Quote, Apple would gladly participate in such an effort, the company wrote on its website Monday. Apple has been refusing a government demand to unlock an iPhone linked to one of the killers in the mass shooting in San Bernardino, California in December. Forrester Research's John Kindervag.
I think the commission is a bit of a redirection to make Apple seem like they want to be cooperative, while at the same time, I don't think there's any way that Apple will adhere to this without this going to the Supreme Court.
CEO Tim Cook also made it clear the company's stance is about broader issues, saying in an email to employees, quote, at stake is the data security of hundreds of millions of law-abiding people and setting a dangerous precedent that threatens everyone's civil liberties. Apple facing new opposition. Reuters has learned that some victims of the San Bernardino attack will file a legal brief backing the U.S. government's efforts to force Apple to unlock that iPhone linked to one of the shooters.
So there you have it. That reached the news this week. I'm all about the individualist approach on these issues. Take it case by case, especially what happened in San Bernardino. I think Apple should unlock the phone. I know people will disagree with me. I think it could only help when it comes to the fight on terror, for the most part. I know people will talk about their freedoms and their rights, but, I feel if there's a terroristic act committed, then, we should put all the information and bring all this information onto the table and discuss it rationally, and to hopefully prevent future attacks. What do you guys think?
If you commit a terrorist act, I'm sorry, your privacy and all that shit goes out the fucking window at that point. The CEO for Apple says it could threaten the civil liberties of everyone that owns an iPhone, but I'm sure being a big company like that, they could find a way to just direct it to that particular phone. And if we don't get the information off that phone, more civil liberties of others could be at risk.
Yeah.
That's not well. Apple could do it at one point. During one version of their operating system, they could unlock the phone. I think it was iOS 6 maybe or 7 that it actually stopped, and that back door was closed, and the encoding that went into that software was no longer there. And I work in this industry, and I've had both police officers and state troopers asking me if it's possible to get an iPhone unlocked, right? And I said I don't think so, and then at some point, I spoke to a higher up in law enforcement who worked with the FBI basically, and he tried to get an iPhone unlocked, and it was like a pedophile case, and they couldn't unlock it. And now Android phones, trust me, they can be unlocked. People or organizations like the NSA, Secret Service and stuff like that, they have devices designed to unlock phones. Doesn't matter whether you've got a password, a PIN or whatever, they can still get into them. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But with an iPhone, your stuff is safe. So what the government's asking them to do is to re-engineer their software and then release an iOS update so that then that backdoor will then be available. That's basically what's happening there. Now, I am in total agreement. I think they should do it.
Okay, yeah. All right, that's what I was going to ask.
So, I've listened to Sam Harris on this. If you really feel that your information is that private, I mean, what the fuck are you doing in the first place? Secondly, do you hate the government that, or you distrust the government that much? You distrust every single large organization out there. It's like a paranoia state.
It really is.
There's nothing on anybody's phone. Trust me, there's nothing on anybody's phone, generally speaking, that's going to be incriminating or anything else, or nothing that anybody's going to give a shit about. That's just the truth of it.
No.
If they want to look...
Well, okay. Paul,
if they want to look at my phone, then I hope they enjoy the show, really.
Well, Paul. Now, I did suspect you would probably sort of somewhat disagree on this. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah,
I agree very highly with the Apple CEO saying about it does set a precedent for future events where they can just get into a phone if they do things like it's. I'm very highly about Everyone has the right to due process. Everyone has the right to privacy. Obviously, for the San Bernardino 2, they don't have that anymore. So, I mean, it's hard. In their particular case, if there was a way to get into the phone, I would support it. I don't think there is a way to get into the phone. I think because as an Apple phone, it's been so heavily encrypted and so heavily secured compared to, of course, the Android phones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there was a way to get into it, I'd support it for them. But I don't like it because of what it could be in the future. That's just my opinion.
I
don't
totally agree
because
with that, yeah.
these things set precedents, and well, we all know what happens like with the Patriot Act and shit too. So.
Yeah,
I don't think it's setting a precedent because that was actually there in the first place. You know, the capability to get into an iPhone was already there. It was built into iOS from iOS 1. The Apple stores, you could take a phone, a locked iPhone to an Apple store, and they could unlock it, right? And that was prior to the whole cell phone revolution. So of course, you could do it then, but now you can't. So from iOS, whatever version it was, and they're iOS 9.2, you can't do it anymore. It's absolutely impossible. If you enter the password 10 times, it's going to encrypt the information on there, so it will never be available ever again. And there is no backdoor. There is nothing you can do anymore.
I'm a person that really doesn't adhere to the all or none type of mentality. I'm really against that type of mentality for the most part, of course. But in this case, I think they should actually unlock it because, like I said,
no, but I understand the ramifications of what people are talking about, Joe.
What's that?
I understand the ramifications of what people are saying. I understand what Paul's saying. That if you set this precedent, as he says, that you build this backdoor into a piece of software,
correct,
and then it then can be corrupted, right? It then can be, compromised, and people think, can then get into it. So I understand where you're coming from, but they can still make stuff really fucking safe, Paul. I mean, they could release it on a software update, and then they could de-release it on iOS 9.7.
So that's
what
why
I'm saying?
That's why I brought up the point. Being a large industry, I'm sure they could find a way to just go at this one particular phone as opposed to.
Not possible.
I'm pretty dumb on it. That's why I'm.
No.
We're not.
I understand, Grant, but I am familiar with this industry, and that's not possible.
Right. Okay.
It's just not. It's not physically. From a hardware point of view, you can't do it, and from a software point, everything's encrypted, so you can't do that either.
Yeah, and I'm basically, retarded on the issue. I really don't have. I have no idea about encryption or anything, or how.
Trust me on this.
Anything
one.
like that, or how it works. So.
Trust me.
You're the guy that knows this shit. So
about.
I knew you really want to talk about this topic. So.
Well, it's not that I know. I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but
you know more than we do.
It is an interesting subject, and I am familiar with the subject matter. So I don't see a problem with it in the fact that they can unlock this phone. Now, there's that McAfee guy, the guy that invented McAfee, the antivirus software.
Correct, yeah.
He's come out and said that he can unlock it within 2 weeks with social engineering, which is interesting in itself because how the fuck is he going to do that?
Yeah, really.
Like, it's just because you can't guess the password. So he's going to look at his Facebook, his Twitter account, and then what? And then what information is he going to gather from that? I think this guy's just trying to get some attention, basically, for his company. Because it's not possible. Yeah, but you can't, Paul. That's the thing. Once you get to
he's going to try. He's going to try.
Yeah, but what guess are they at already on that phone? Because you know what it's like on an iPhone. Once you enter it so many times, it'll delay it by so many minutes or hours or whatever. So is it at that last point where it then delays it for 999,000 hours and whatever, like the iPhones do? Right? Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then everything in that phone is garbage, basically. You can't get to any of it.
Good point, Anthony.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but I understand where you're coming from, Paul. Because I don't, but then again, I'm not worried. The only thing I'm bothered about is that my financial information is safe and my social security number is safe and all that kind of thing. Pictures of my cat or my kids, even. You know what I mean? Even if they were a naked picture of my daughter with a bum in the bath. You know what I mean?
Anthony,
I wouldn't give a shit really. Because at the end of the day, I don't care, right? I'm not going to be that bothered.
Anthony,
because I'm never going to find out in the first place.
Anthony, what about the cloud, man? What about that fucking cloud? Is that safe?
Well, the iCloud is secure because they've released further updates from when. Who was that girl with the nice ass? Who was that?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Scarlett Johansson?
There you go. Thank you, Paul. That one.
I knew that
nice
one.
face as well. He's got a really nice face. So yeah, once her pictures were released, and the only way you can get into it, right, is by guessing a password. Really, there's no unless there was some backdoor at that point, and maybe there was some security flaw. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a fucking hacker, but maybe there was an error. Maybe there was a backdoor then, but there certainly isn't one now.
Well, just let it be known that you used the word backdoor many times tonight. So, just putting it out there.
You've always got to get in through the back door.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, but close it quietly.
But close it,
the main thing.
close it quietly. Awesome.
Yes.
Fucking great.